So my brothers and sisters, my short reflection is drawn from the gospel that we've just listened to, and I titled it, Leftovers. Gather every fragment so that nothing goes to waste. I like eating leftovers. So the feeding of the 5,000 and more people is one of my favorite biblical stories. It mirrors earlier years when God fed the Israelites in the desert with manna, and it also mirrors the Eucharist we celebrate here, where the Lord feeds us and satisfies our deepest hungers that we all have. So every time we reflect on these biblical stories, it's always very important to insert ourselves in the story and pay attention to the different characters in the story. What are the different people in the story doing, and what do they say? What do they do? What are their reactions to the different situations that we have? And there is always a lot packed in each biblical story if you pay careful attention to what each of the characters is doing and what they are doing and what is going on in their lives and how they are reacting. In this story, we see Philip, who was the practical man. He looked at the size of the crowd and did some mental calculations, did some math, and told Jesus that, you know what, it would require an impossible sum of money for us to bring in enough food trucks to feed the whole crowd that is here. So it was simply impossible to do anything about that situation from the perspective of Philip. Yet from the perspective of Andrew, Jesus, he was told, Andrew, on the other hand, he was just told that there was a boy who had a cup of fish and a cup of loaves of bread that was available. But from his perspective, whatever was available was so inadequate to have any impact given the size of the crowd that they had. Yet we also have the young boy who surrendered the little that he had. This is all that I have. This is all the fish I have, and this is all the loaves that I have. To Jesus for the good of everyone else. You and I have all repeatedly heard this said to us, that when we put the little that we have in the hands of Jesus, He's going to find ways of multiplying it, and the results will always surprise us. That's a big lesson for us to keep in front of us. That every time that we take the little that we have and put it in the hands of Jesus, He has the ability to multiply it. Many times we are held back by this sense of inadequacy, that I just don't have enough. I just don't have what it takes. The feeling that we don't have what it takes to have any impact, given the talent that we have, the time that we have, the treasures that we have. But when we learn to put whatever we have, whatever level of talent that we have, or treasure, or time, or health that we have in the hands of Jesus, He can multiply it, He can be able to put it to good use. You don't need too much time, for example, to step briefly behind after a church function to stack the chairs or to help clean up. You don't need too much. You don't need too much to donate $10 or $15 for the sake of the church's mission that we do. All of that can be able to contribute to the overall work of God. So part of the encouragement that we have is that never be afraid to put whatever little that you have into God's hands. He can be able to use it in ways that even will surprise us. And I didn't think I really had much, or knew too much, or I had the intellectual abilities or the level of formation, faith formation that I needed to be able to do anything. But when we have the interior freedom to avail ourselves, we will be surprised at how much God can be able to do with us. After feeding the crowd, the Lord told the people to gather all the leftovers so that nothing would go to waste. We live in a culture where there is so much wastage. There is so much throwaway of food and clothing and shoes. we need to be better stewards of the blessings that God has given us. We need to ask the Lord to train us ourselves on how much we need to purchase. And if we have way more than we need, again, we need to train our hearts to learn to find ways of sharing, especially with those who don't have much. Our church has provided us a lot of opportunities for us to do that. You can think of St. Vincent de Paul. We have My Brother's Keeper. We have the Salvation Army. We have the Goodwill stores, where we can be able to gather everything and share that with others who may be in need. Today, as we continue with our Mass, may we ask the Lord to teach us what it means to trust in divine providence. This belief that God will take care of us and will take care of each one of us and all our needs, no matter what the circumstances. That's what he did with the Jews when they were going through the desert. That's how he provided for the people in the desert as we had today. He will always find ways of attending to our needs that we have. In this Mass, we also ask that the Lord trains our hearts on how to be good stewards of what he has already given us, especially through the practice of charity. I know I don't need 15 shirts. I can be able to have 12, and perhaps I can be able to share whatever else that is extra with others. I don't need to have 23 pairs of shoes. I can be able to have 4, and I can be able to share the rest that I have with other people. That's good stewardship. And it's also tied into the charity that the Lord invites us. But even more importantly today, we're asking that the Lord renews our love for the Eucharist. Amen.
Amen.